It had been 7 months since the blood in the monastery and the ghost of Julia Reyes vanished from Julian Cross's life again. 7 months since the photo in Istanbul and the sniper's bullet that was never meant to kill her. 7 months since she left him with more questions than answers. Julian had tried to put the case away. He had buried himself in routine cases, burglaries, fraud, the occasional homicide, but late at night, when the city was quiet, he would find himself staring at that old flash drive. The one with her voice. "I'm not dead. I just became something else." He didn't believe in hauntings, but Julia Reyes haunted him. One rainy evening, an encrypted email landed in his inbox. No subject line. No sender. Just a single attachment. He ran it through 3 layers of security before opening it. It was a folder, hundreds of files, names, dates, bank transactions. The Vanishing Point's black book. Buried among offshore accounts and coded messages was a single line that made his blood run cold: Julian Cross, status, asset. He wasn't an investigator. He was an asset. Someone had been moving him like a piece on their board for years. He traced the leak to a cyber cafe in Marrakesh. The air was thick with dust and spice, the hum of traffic outside blending with the clicking of keyboards. The man at the terminal was gone by the time Julian arrived, but a flash drive was taped under the desk. Inside, a message: "Stop chasing Julia. Start chasing yourself." From Marrakesh, the trail led him to Istanbul, the same city where he'd last seen Julia in a photograph. At a riverside tea shop, an older man sat waiting for him. The man's voice was gravel. "She's alive," he said before Julian could speak. "But you're not here to save her. You're here to save yourself." The man handed him a dossier. Photos, surveillance reports, and a single name underlined in red: Alexander Vaughn, David Lancaster's lawyer. The same smooth-talking man who stood beside the body in Part 1, claiming to know nothing. Back in New York, Julian dug into Vaughn's past. The deeper he went, the uglier it became. Offshore accounts, bribed judges, disappearances tied to whistleblowers. Vaughn wasn't just a lawyer, he was the architect of the Vanishing Point's darker side. He had used Julia to take out his enemies, and used Julian to chase her, a perfect diversion. The final piece fell into place when Julian received a handwritten note on his desk one morning: "If you want the truth, come to Switzerland." No signature. The estate in the Swiss Alps was the kind of place billionaires used for retreats, sprawling, isolated, with windows that reflected the mountains like mirrors. Snow crunched under Julian's boots as he approached. Inside, the air was warm, scented faintly with cigars. Vaughn was waiting, a drink in his hand, his smile the same one Julian remembered from years ago. "You've been busy," Vaughn said. "But you still don't understand the game you've been playing." Before Julian could respond, another figure stepped from the shadows. Julia. Her eyes locked with his. No surprise. No apology. Just something cold and steady. "I told you someone from the start was pulling the strings," she said. Vaughn chuckled. "And I told you, Julia, you were never more than a weapon." The air between them was heavy with history and betrayal. Julia slid a gun across the table toward Julian. "You decide," she said. "Justice or the law. You can't have both." The room seemed to shrink. Vaughn's smirk never faltered. He poured himself another drink, as if daring Julian to do it. The fire crackled in the hearth, loud in the silence. Julian's hand hovered over the weapon. And then, the shot. The glass shattered in Vaughn's hand before he crumpled to the floor. Dead. Julia stepped back into the shadows. "Now you understand," she said. But Julian's hand was still on the table. He hadn't fired. By the time he looked up, she was gone. On the table lay a sealed envelope. Back at his hotel, he opened it. Inside was a flash drive. One file. The final truth. It was a list. Names he recognized, captains of industry, politicians, judges, and names he didn't. At the very bottom was his own police chief. The man who had assigned him to Lancaster's case in the first place. The realization hit like a blade: he had never been cleaning up corruption. He had been removing Vaughn's competition. The rain was falling when Julian left Switzerland, his coat heavy, the flash drive in his pocket like a stone. He didn't know if Julia was a savior or a devil. Maybe both. But the truth? The truth was poison. And as he walked away, her voice echoed in his mind: the truth doesn't set you free. It just changes the prison you live in. You're watching Twisted Truth. Like and subscribe for more unknown twists.